Hello everyone. I've got a little rambling going on in my mind that I thought I would share with y'all. And the title of this video is Caught Up. If you're like me, you love movies. I tend to like movies that involve sci-fi or anything else out of the ordinary, mind-boggling or consciousnessly expanding in some way. Most of the time when I watch movies, I resonate with one of the characters so much that I experience the movie from that one character's perspective, through their eyes, their point of view. Even though I see the entire movie and other characters' depth and reasoning, I don't think I'm the only one that does this. If you don't resonate with the character, maybe you resonate with the scenario when you watch a movie. Whose eyes I experience the movie through has a lot to do with my own character, what I've been through in my life, and what I might be going through at the current time. Much like a movie, we can live our lives just like this. We can get caught up in other people's point of views. For example, listening to another's point of view may have you believing that homosexuals are evil. Listening to the news, you may get caught up in group hate and blindly believe that all Israelis, Iranians, or even Americans are bad or corrupt in some way. These other POVs can cloud our own experience, your own intuition, or your own personal connection to certain situations or people. The one thing movies give us that most stories don't is an expanded awareness. We get to see other characters living their lives too. At the very least, we are shown a little bit of where the other characters are coming from, because the movie has given us a fly-on-the-wall view. It is still not a complete picture, but in most cases, it is much more than we are privy to in our day-to-day lives. Getting caught up in one particular point of view, and you really don't get the whole picture. You don't get to see and understand the other characters' life stories, their experiences and perceptions, and what they have had and bring to the table or the story. It's almost like a narrative hook. A narrative hook is something that you read that hooks you into a story, or in a movie scenario, it hooks you into the movie. And in a way, it's like you're then stuck into the movie, you're stuck into the story, and you're going along for the ride. You wind up getting a very lopsided view of the entire story. And it makes me think of the blind man touching an elephant. And there's like, depending on the story, let's just say there are 6 people touching an elephant, and they're blindfolded. And they're explaining the elephant based on the small portion of the elephant that they alone are touching. And if they just go by their own perception and not open to what other people have to say that are touching the elephant, then basically they don't even get the whole picture. They can't even understand what they're really touching. So sometimes we can do that when we get caught up in someone else's point of view. It's like looking through a keyhole, a small keyhole, and trying to describe the entire room you're looking into with great detail. There is so much that goes on behind the scenes to make a motion picture, from set design to embodying a character. There are some out there that hypothesize that we are in one big play ourselves. They say that before coming into this life, we sit around and plan, we set the stage for certain scenes and circumstances to happen so that we can learn from or just have the experience. I'm not sure where I stand on that, but I do believe it is possible and probable. My hypothesis is more along the lines of harmony and frequencies, more than it is planning. Let's say you're in a car and you're coming home after a long trip. You've been listening to your favorite country music station on the journey. Once you reach your home, you get out of the car, go inside, do your regular evening chores, and go to bed. In the morning, you get ready for your day, hop into your car, turn it on, and the radio comes on. The radio is still on your favorite country music station. The car is your body. The radio are the stations that you usually stay mentally and emotionally tuned into in your normal everyday life. You going to bed represents you dying. You getting up and hopping into your car, and the same station, the same perceptions, judgments, and beliefs are playing. If you come back into another life and body, reincarnation, you're hopping right back into where you left off. You only progress as far as what, on average, you stay tuned into, which should emphasize just how important it is to tune into exactly what you want and stay tuned into it. You can't let others distract or dictate what you tune into. Take charge and do it yourself. Okay, enough of the tangent. My point is that even if you think you have a good and broad understanding of what's going on with everyone in the play, it is impossible to understand the whole entire play completely. People say that they don't like drama, but a lot of people get caught up in it. Hell, that's what makes a movie interesting. That's why we go to a movie, isn't it? To have the drama, to have the experience. When we get caught up in other people's story, it's like looking through their eyes. It's like putting on their glasses, their small perspective. We see through their limited eyes, and we are not conscious and careful enough. And if we are not conscious and careful enough, we can fuel their story, which in most cases has nothing to do with us. We can make the situation worse. Years ago, there was an incident that happened in my group. Let's call it the cake incident. I had a few people that were not involved in the original incident, making it much worse by them adding their, "you should do this," or "if it were me." They were talking as if they were there and knew the story, but they weren't and they didn't. I was focused on protecting and healing all involved in the situation. So in the end, I had to block the few trying to write themselves into a story they were never meant to be in. In my life's work, I've heard many stories. Since my purpose is to help lessen people's pain and help them heal, the stories I hear can be anywhere in the spectrum from uncomfortable to completely horrifying. Some stories I've heard I will never burden the ears or hearts of another soul with, which brings to mind an image from a foreign film called Wings of Desire. In a powerful scene in this movie, Wings of Desire, Hitler is speaking to his men, and there are angels in the room. Of course, Hitler and his men can't see the angels, but the angels are in the room, and they are crying. They're covering their ears, and they're writhing in pain, tormented by the hateful things Hitler is saying. I felt like those angels a few times. Even understanding the human heart and mind in depth like I do doesn't always take away the shock and sting of some stories I hear, nor does it make me all-seeing and understanding. I can lose my center and get pulled into their story if I'm not adequately centered in myself. I have my own character flaws I'm working with and healing and wishing to transcend. I have learned one thing, and that one thing that I am still working to master is to be able to really help someone, you have to be able to hear their story yet remain neutral. To be a witness, to be a healing witness to what's happened, but not let yourself get pulled into their story. To listen with your heart, but not let your heart absorb their fear, their anger, their sadness as your own. We all want our friends to side with us. We want them to help us to feel good. However, it's hard to help someone when you yourself jump into the waters of turmoil of a story. Group hate is easily created when people buy into one person's narrow point of view without knowing or researching the whole story. Only knowing one side is unbalanced. And so what I'm saying, by knowing only one side, it is balanced. And by listening to someone, you can join into group hate, which may tip the scale of justice in the wrong direction. In my office, I have a lending library I walk by many times a day. It has metaphysical books and lots of different books that people have added into it. Sometimes I will randomly pick up a book and just open it and start reading. Recently, I picked up a book by Paula Bruno called Come Hell or High Water. She actually attends my group sometimes and lives in this town. The place I opened the book to, over halfway through, was not pleasant, but for some reason it held my attention. The story took place many years ago. Had I been a part of the story, I would have gladly gone to jail for killing someone had I found those things in that basement. But you know what? I wasn't there. And for me to get angry over something that happened years ago and had worked itself out by the time I read about it does nothing for the people involved or to heal the situation. Like I said, had I been part of that story, I might have done something. But then again, who knows? Maybe me not getting involved would have been better. You just don't know unless you are in the story yourself. And even then, you may not know or understand the entire story. If you're not in the story yourself, it is just a catalyst for an emotional ride. What you or I experience or perceive in our own stories or in other stories has everything to do with our own character. So when somebody's talking to us, we filter what they're saying through our own experiences. And that's how we can get hooked into it. And our character is basically the sum of our past experiences, perceptions, judgments, beliefs, and expectations. God forbid that I project my experiences, perceptions, judgments, and beliefs or expectations onto someone else's story. It's bad enough not trying to do that in my own life. If it is your story, then you are in it for a reason, and you've got something to learn. However, if it's not your own story, then it's just a trigger for an emotional ride. And sometimes when we're in that, we can't help but get pulled in when you're listening to a story. Sometimes you just get pulled in. But just try to catch yourself before you're in it too long, before you're too tied up in it yourself. Drama makes things interesting, but how much is enough? And if we have enough drama in our own lives, why take on more that doesn't really relate to us? From my own experience, I have found it's always best to go by my own experience, my own point of view of a situation or a person. Not to say that I haven't done that in the past, get caught up in other people's point of view, but I've always found it is more beneficial when I stay in my own self. And there's an exercise that you can do is that a lot of times I'll just do these little mental exercises. And when I was putting this together, I sat for a moment just quietly with myself and imagine looking through my own eyes. And what I've experienced doing this the last couple of days is there are times that I'm experiencing life, but I'm not behind my own eyes. It's an interesting little exercise. You might play with it yourself. But what I experience for myself is that sometimes we're not even behind our own eyes and looking out from ourselves. We're so caught up in what's happening around us. Be careful to not trade your clear vision for dirty glasses. Don't let others' story, their perceptions, cloud your own point of view, your own personal experience of a situation or a person. No one person knows the whole story. You are all powerful beings capable of many great things. All you have to do is follow your heart. Y'all have a great day. Namaste.